Good morning, Radio Disney families. It's that time again. Time for the Kids Concern Show with 98.3 FM Radio Disney. Let's hear what our local kidcasters have to share with us today.
Good morning. We are broadcasting from our Radio Disney studios in Carmel, Indiana. It's the Kid Concern Show with Radio Disney, and we are here to talk about matters that are important to Radio Disney families. I'm Lori, and I'm a Radio Disney Road Crew member. Today we have our special guests from United Way, Mike and Angie. Thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thanks so much for having us today.
Yeah.
We are getting up bright and early to talk to our listeners about United Way. Listeners, for more information, you can go online to uwci.org. Now, first things first, this is a very important and serious question for our listeners. Mike, who is your favorite Disney character?
Oh, my favorite Disney character has to be Aladdin. I love Aladdin. I love the movie.
That's a good one.
He's so funny and so energetic, but he's also a great leader.
Yeah, definitely. And Angie, do you have a favorite movie?
My new favorite movie is Frozen.
Frozen.
And
I still haven't seen it.
Oh,
I'm
it's
going
so
this weekend.
good.
Yeah,
I
let's go
have
this weekend.
sisters and I have 3 daughters, and what I love about it is how the sisters save each other. They don't need anybody
Don't give
else.
it away.
I'm not giving anything away. Nothing happens.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happens at all.
You should go see it though, to see for yourself.
We are. I am going tomorrow night, actually, so I'm really excited to go see it. Mike, have you seen Frozen yet?
I have not seen Frozen yet.
I've seen
but
it twice.
Very
You've
excited
seen it
to see
twice?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
Listeners,
I'm
it's really
hoping
good. Run out and
over
see
the
it.
holidays, I
Yes.
get the chance.
Yeah, hopefully. Before we move on, do either of you have any special shout-outs you'd like to make?
I want to say hello to my daughters, Rebecca, Mamie, and Delia, who are listening to us from the east side of Indianapolis. I love you guys.
And I would love to say hello to all of my kids at the East 10th United Methodist Children and Youth Center.
Awesome. For our listeners that do not already know, can one of you give us just a little short summary about United Way?
Sure, I can do that. So United Way of Central Indiana is working diligently to help families in our community learn more, earn more, and lead safe and healthy lives. So to do that, we really focus in 4 priority areas. We really focus at income, education, health, and basic needs, because we know that if our families don't have homes, clothing, and food, they're not going to be able to go to school, they're not going to be able to go to work. And we also know that education is the quickest path out of poverty. We know that if families don't have a stable income, that they're not able to support each other. And if you don't have your health, then you don't have much. So that's why United Way is really focused on those areas and really trying to help our community and our neighbors have all of those things.
Sounds good. Angie, can you kind of give us a little bit of what you do with United Way?
Yes, I am very lucky to be associated with United Way really as a volunteer more than anything else. My 3 daughters, who I mentioned earlier, attend Little Dove Daycare at East 10th United Methodist Church. And we became, I suppose, clients there when we moved to Indianapolis in 2009. And over the past few years, we have watched the daycare become a place that just increasingly supports our kids and gives them more and more opportunities. And that's thanks largely to United Way of Central Indiana and their Paths to Quality program. They have provided all sorts of materials to the kids, from books to new, perfectly age-appropriate playgrounds to sinks in the classroom, so that the teachers can keep things as hygienic as possible and the kids can be as well as possible.
That's awesome. So United Way, they don't just donate school supplies, they donate a lot of things.
Yeah, our goal is really to increase the level of quality of childcare in Central Indiana. So to that end, we help childcares grow their health and safety and meet those requirements with, like Andy said, lights, toilets, sinks, all of those things that you need to keep your dirty hands clean.
Right.
But then we're also going to help with educational materials, with professional development. We'll send teachers back to school so they can get their credential, their associate's degree, or their bachelor's degree. We'll also help to support them in the classroom with professional development and give them curriculum and an assessment, so we're sure that the kids are ready for kindergarten when they go.
That's great to hear. So Mike, why is increasing the supply of high quality early learning options important?
It's very important in our community that child cares are able to support our children with educational facilities. So many of our children these days are going to child care because our parents are working, which is a great thing. But while they're there, they need to be more than just cared for. They need to be educated and prepared for kindergarten, because we know that if children, and in just the first 3 years of life, 85% of those little kids' brains are developed. And we know that if they're not ready by the time they go to kindergarten, that they're set far back to be able to read by third grade. And if children are reading to learn, or are learning to read until third grade, they're reading to learn after, which sets you up for life success. So it's very important that we work with the child cares in our community to increase their quality so that all children are not only healthy and safe, but being educated.
That sounds good. So it's kind of like you're helping daycares teach kids instead of just watching them.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes. At the daycare that my children go to, there is such great involvement from the teachers and from the staff and from volunteers that come in as well. And actually, one of my favorite United Way programs that we have gotten involved in only because we're in the school is that United Way has a program where every couple of months they will send 3 paperback books to each of my girls. And these are books that have been chosen by United Way and their experts as age appropriate. For instance, when my daughter Rebecca was getting ready to go to kindergarten, she got a book called Countdown to Kindergarten. And one of our very favorite books is called Hello, My Name is Bob. And it's about a very boring bear named Bob who has a best friend named Jack who's wild and zany. And the thing that I like about okay, I'm speaking as a middle child myself. Each book comes with a book plate, so I can personalize those books. And my middle daughter, Mamie, has her own books, and my baby Delia has her own books, and Rebecca has her books too. And I consider myself a success when my little girls pick up those books and come running over to me and want to sit down and hear me read about Bob one more time.
And that book program is actually open to all Central Indiana residents.
I didn't know that.
It's called Early Readers Club, and you can find it by going to our website, uwci.org. And actually, we've transitioned it now to be a partnership with the library. So the books don't have to be shipped to your homes. You can go to the branches of the Indianapolis-Marion County Library or any of the libraries in our service area, which is Hancock County, Hendricks County, Morgan, Marion, Boone. You can go to the library branches anywhere there, and you can sign your children up, and you'll get 1 book a month, every month until they turn 6 years old.
How cool is that?
That is really cool. What's the name of that program again?
It's Early Readers Club.
I hear that this is all a 10-year plan. Can you kind of give us what you're hoping for it to look like in 10 years?
Yeah, so in 2011, United Way of Central Indiana really wanted to invest in early childhood education. So to date, our United Way of Central Indiana and its partners has promised almost $20 million to increase the quality of childcare in Central Indiana. And our goals are really to have 80% of all child cares in Central Indiana at a high quality standard. The state has recently released a quality rating system called Paths to Quality. So you can see Paths to Quality signs outside of a lot of child cares these days. And it's a 4-level system. And when we think of high quality early childhood education, we want all child cares to be a level 3 or 4, which means that they have a curriculum that's kindergarten based, and they're assessing those kids for kindergarten, or they're nationally accredited to ensure that those kids, again, are ready for kindergarten, which is so important. And beyond that, we also want to make sure that even our most vulnerable families have access to high quality early childhood education. So the other side of that is we want 80% of all of our most vulnerable families also ready for kindergarten by accessing that high quality early childhood education.
It's been fun watching East 10th grow. As I said, when we enrolled our kids there at first, they weren't yet in the Paths to Quality program. And one of the things that's fun is each of the kids there seems to know exactly where East 10th is on the path. And so when they reached level 1, my daughters came running home, "Mommy, you'll never believe it. We got to level 1." And now I believe they're at level 4. Mm-hmm. And it's just been really fun to see the staff commitment as the daycare itself has grown. Each of the staff members is getting more and more training as part of the program. And that's something that I find really encouraging because I think each of them then enjoys their jobs more and wants to come to work and wants to be able to not only just take care of my child, but to take really good care of my child.
I'm sure for the staff members too, it's nice to see the kids learning. If it's changed so much where they used to just kind of watch, and then now they're actually teaching them, and then when they come back to maybe visit or something, I'm sure it's nice to see that all of their hard work educating those kids in a daycare.
And I will tell you, we got lucky that that East 10th already had some really loving, wonderful people in place before they started on the path to quality. And I think they sort of self-identified as wanting to improve even more, and that's because of the remarkable administration that they have in place already, that they've been able to partner not only with United Way, but also with some other groups in the community to provide reading programs for the kids. They have, as a matter of fact, Santa is going to be at the school tomorrow, handing out some presents to the kids.
That's exciting.
And that's through a church program. I think that they recognized how valuable United Way's Path to Quality program would be for them.
I'll tell you, because I was actually the director of the East 10th United Methodist Children and Youth Center before we got on Paths to Quality. Mm-hmm. And, when I started there with my absolutely amazing daycare program coordinator, who is now the director, Emily Noth. Hey, Emily.
Hi, Emily.
She and I worked diligently because the children would just come in and they'd sit down and they'd watch television for a large portion of the day, and they'd watch movies. And we had to kind of get past that idea in our heads that was okay,
right,
and start looking for other ways for the kids to get interactive and engaged in different projects and different things that they do. So it really has been a dramatic change from what was once low quality, watching TV most of the day, and now when the children are doing their own projects and their own research efforts.
Over the summer, the Agape Horse Therapy Program came in once a week, and I was thinking, oh, how lovely, these horses are going to provide therapeutic company for my kids. Turned out my kids were therapeutic for the horses. That there was little Smokey the horse who was very shy and had maybe not been treated so well, and every week Mamie and Delia got to pet Smokey the horse and tell him what a good horse he was. And that's the kind of thing I had no idea when we enrolled there, that my children would get to hang out with horses. And that's just one example of the many very cool things that they do.
Yeah. Sounds like a great improvement.
It's a great place.
How can our listeners help or get involved with?
Oh, there's a lot of ways to get involved with United Way. United Way really wants to activate and engage all our community members to give, advocate, or volunteer. First of all, you can give. There's a lot of companies out there doing campaigns for United Way, or you can give to United Way directly. And we ask that everyone in the community give generously to our community campaign, because it is those dollars that allows us to do all these awesome things with the child cares, and allows child cares then to do these amazing things for your kids. Advocate for high quality early childhood education. There's many school systems now that have early childhood facilities, but they're not on Paths to Quality, so we don't know how high quality they actually are. There's also a lot of child cares out there that aren't doing what's right and what's best for kids. They might be doing what's best and right for the adults. And so we need to write our legislators. We need to let our community members know. We need to let our family members who have children in childcare know how important it is that they are at a high-quality early childhood facility. And then the last piece is to volunteer. We have so many awesome volunteer programs, and I challenge anyone out there that wants to have a 4-year-old attached to their leg while they read a book for an hour to become a volunteer reader. The Read Up Readers program places you in a childcare classroom with kids ages 3, 4, and 5 years old, so that you can truly make the difference in the life of a child by teaching them how to read and just giving them that love of books.
And I've got to tell you, there's no better feeling than having that 4-year-old grab the book and scooch backward into your lap.
That's
just
exactly right.
Knowing that they are going to get the gift of this really good book, if only for just a few minutes.
And if you're not comfortable with that, it's okay. You can tell them to sit on the floor. They're usually pretty good at that, too.
They will let go of your lap eventually. Yes.
Mike, when did United Way actually start?
Sure. Well, we actually started back in 2008, 2009. There were some federal dollars that were handed down to the state through a grant, and we were able to work with just a few child cares in a very specific area on the Near East side of Indianapolis and help them to increase quality. And East 10th United Methodist Children and Youth Center was one of those. But after that work and seeing the great work that happened there, it was actually in 2010, 2011 that we started our 10-year plan. So those goals of 80% high quality early childhood education, we're hoping to see those by 2021. To date, United Way of Central Indiana has engaged more than 60 child cares in quality improvement. We've sent over 150 teachers back to school so that they can get more education.
That's awesome.
Because sadly, right now, to be a child care provider in Central Indiana, all you need is a high school diploma. And we know that a child is only going to be as successful as their teacher is. So we want to give teachers and arm teachers with that knowledge. So hopefully by 2021, we will see those great improvements.
A phrase that I first heard from a United Way volunteer was the phrase time, talent, and treasure. And I think that's such a lovely way of thinking about ways to get involved with United Way, because there are just so many different levels to it and so many different ways of being involved. So we are lucky that we have a lot of volunteers, and we're lucky also that we have United Way's, of course, their money behind this program too. And that wouldn't happen without a lot of really active donors.
So, Mike, were you involved with United Way from the beginning, or did you get involved after it had already started?
I actually got involved after it already started. I was the director of the East Central United Methodist Children and Youth Center, and it was actually the second child care facility to be helped by United Way funding. And so I helped with all of my great staff and partners there. We were able to get to level 3 of PAS to quality. So we were able to mark that high quality early childhood education in June of 2012. And then it was actually August of 2012 when I stepped over to United Way, because I just had this great burn inside of me that I wanted to help more child cares learn these ways and do these things and have those same services wrapped around them, because I've seen the effect that it has on children. You know, I'll tell a quick story. There was a foster mom, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, she got a phone call that she needed to go pick up a new foster child. And this foster child was a 14-year-old girl, and she just happened to have a 2-month-old son. So there was a great emergency in her face. She had used all of her personal time, all of her vacation time. She had to pick those children up, get them situated, and she had to go to work the next day. Otherwise, she wouldn't have that income that was so necessary for this new and growing family.
Right.
So this poor foster mom loads the kids up in the car in the morning. She drives down the street to the very first childcare that she sees. She stops, walks in the door. It just happened to be the childcare where I was working. Comes into my office and says, "What do I have to do right now to leave these children with you today?" You know, and within 30 minutes or so, she filled out a couple applications. She let us make some copies of some documents, and she left. And this poor infant, Adam, was only 2 months old. You know, sadly, in Indiana right now, child cares don't have to be licensed. You know, we can take your children, put them in a room and close the door and not see them until you come back later that day. And she had no idea what was going to happen inside of our child care with those children while she was gone. But she had to think about her family first. She had to think about that income and put that as her first priority. Well, you know, Adam spent a lot of time in our infant room, and he got sick a lot because at the time we weren't on PAS Equality. We were in a 100-year-old church building. We didn't have enough sinks. We didn't have ways for people to wash their hands. Like, it was just tough. And so he was getting sick a lot, and we were having to call his foster mom at least once a week to come pick him up. She got in trouble at work, so she said, "I'm sorry, you're going to have to start calling his birth mom." So then we're calling a 14-year-old who's in 8th grade to take the Indigo City bus across the city, come to the childcare, pick up her infant son, and take him home into a house where there's no adults. An extremely dangerous situation. And thankfully, United Way recognized these problems. The price tag for us to achieve level 1 of PAS to quality, that basic health and safety, was $109,000. The average tuition we were taking in each week per child was somewhere between $60 and $75. There was no way we were going to be able to do that and help Adam and his family. But United Way kind of swept in, and they gave us a grant that provided up to 80% of that $109,000, and we were able to have a construction team come in and get those sinks and those toilets and those lights and teach our teachers and teach us some new policies and procedures. And I'll tell you that once we achieved level 1 of PAS Equality, Adam's attendance went through the roof. We no longer had to call foster mom. We no longer had to call birth mom. And, you know, he had some aggressive behaviors. You know, he was hitting and kicking and biting and doing some things that he shouldn't do, and just trying to get the attention of the teachers, you know, because he didn't have that attention a lot when he was early on in his life. Well, once United Way, we achieved level 1, so United Way started thinking about those educational environments in our classrooms. And so they provided us with shelves that, Adam could actually reach and take things off of. And they provided us with toys and materials that he was interested in, and multiples of those. So he no longer had to sock the kid next to him to get the toy that he wanted.
Right.
He could have what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it. And they sent my teachers back to school so they could learn how to manage those kinds of behaviors. And pretty quickly after we achieved level 2, those aggressive behaviors started to dissipate, and Adam and the teachers could really focus on his education. So then we needed a curriculum. So United Way provided us with curriculum support, so we knew how to better educate our children. And with an assessment, we currently use the iStar KR assessment that is actually through the Department of Education. So we could enter Adam into the Department of Education's database at 6 weeks and track him till he graduates high school, which allows teachers at 3rd grade, if they see a child that is having trouble with their handwriting, they can go in and look at our assessments and see that that child had some fine motor issues and he didn't know how to use his hands properly and he probably wasn't holding his pencil properly. Mm-hmm. And then wrap those services around him so that he could improve and become more successful. And I'll tell you, Adam just grew and grew and grew, and now he's going to graduate from East 10th United Methodist Children and Youth Center in May of 2014, and he's going to go to kindergarten, and we know that he is kindergarten ready. And his mom, who was once a young teen mom, is going to graduate from Broad Ripple's Fine Arts Magnet, and she's going to go on to college and do some great things with her life too, all because of high-quality early childhood education supported by United Way, but then really enacted by those child care providers who want something greater for our children here in our community.
It's interesting. The Lilly Foundation here in Indianapolis recently has made a grant to, I think it was 8 colleges and universities throughout Indiana to look at the brain drain problem in Indiana, keeping our talented kids here in the state. And I started thinking, Adam is one of those kids. These are, we want to be in the position where there's a brain drain to prevent. And the work that United Way is doing is putting these kids in a position where they're having opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise. And for me, as a mom especially, it's a lot of fun to think about, what's Adam going to do in 20 years? And what are the amazing qualities that only he has, that someone is going to help him identify, that we are going to want to keep in the state of Indiana to use as a resource for our own good.
That's right. And then the other side of that is we also got to think of all of our parents out there. Think of Adam's foster mom. She didn't have time, nor did she know what questions to ask when she walked through those child care doors. So the other side of this is that United Way has this great multimedia campaign that has radio commercials and TV commercials and billboards that's really challenging parents to think about what is going on at my child's child care. It's called Kids Need Quality, and you can find it at kidsneedquality, all one word, .org. And that website is going to arm parents with information. It's going to tell you what questions to ask. It's going to tell you what you should see in your childcare when you go in. And if you don't want to bother with all the questions and all the craziness, we're going to link you to the high-quality early childhood providers right in your zip code so that you have the ability to walk through those doors with confidence that your children are not only healthy and safe, but being cared for and educated. And that is the goal of United Way of Central Indiana, because let's be honest, our best resource is our kids, and there is no greater resource to invest in than all of our children.
I'm getting chills when you talk. I think it's amazing, everything that you're doing. So I really hope that you and United Way and more parents volunteer and just keep doing what you guys are doing, because it really is amazing. I work with kids, and I have a son who's in 5th grade, and I get it. Kids and parents need help.
Yeah.
So that's awesome that you guys are doing what you're doing. Angie, I know that you volunteer with United Way, but
yes.
What does the day in the life of Angie look like? What else do you do?
Oh, goodness. Well, 3 kids. Rebecca's 8, so she's in 2nd grade. Mm-hmm. And Mamie, which is short for Margaret, is 5, and she's about to graduate and go into kindergarten next year. And Delia's 3. So our day starts pretty early. And we've introduced the concept recently of mom doesn't want to actually get up either. So maybe we could be a little easier on mom for waking you up. So, we are out the door my end time for being out the door is 6:40 every morning, and my husband also works full time, and so usually each of us has either one or two girls that we're bringing to school or to daycare. I drop those girls off knowing that they're about to get a good breakfast put into them, which is also a relief because sometimes my idea of a good breakfast is tossing a little Debbie snack cake to them while we're in the minivan commuting to the school. And oh my goodness, I wish that was an exaggeration, but it is the truth.
And then sometimes they just throw it on the floor.
Yeah, they do. And then at least one sister steps on it before you get a chance to take a bite of it. But I drop them off knowing that they're going to get, out of that chaotic morning, they're going to get the chance to sit around the table and talk to their peers. Mm-hmm. They're going to get a good hearty breakfast in them, and that those teachers are going to take such good care of them all day long. And it's such a relief to be able to do that because it's hard to be a working mom or a working dad. It's hard to trust that those little souls are going to get what they need throughout the day. But I know that they will, and I know that I have past quality to thank for that.
It's great. That's awesome that they get breakfast.
Yeah, they get breakfast, they get lunch.
We're not morning people either.
A healthy snack.
I'm tossing the granola bar and and bottled water, and he doesn't get breakfast at his school, so we do the granola bar and water.
Yep, and they the daycare itself is open from 7 in the morning until 5:30 in the evening, and there are times when I'm one of the last moms picking them up. But even then, there was a day recently when Mamie saw me coming and threw herself on the ground and started screaming because she was about to go play on the playground with her friend Jaritzi, and she just couldn't stand it that I was coming in and taking her away from this thing that she was enjoying. And the screaming aside, that made me feel pretty good. Made me feel like I definitely have her in the right place.
Angie, before we go off the show, I want to know, what have you learned since working with United Way?
I have learned so much about the Paths to Quality program. Something that I had never thought about was the benefit of having a sink in every classroom and the benefit of having age-appropriate potties. And something I really had never considered at all, age-appropriate playgrounds. So that I know that when Delia is out there, she's not getting smushed to the ground by the huge, big old 5-year-olds, that she and her 2- and 3-year-old friends are playing in a place that's safe, that has toys that are designed specifically for them. And nice, too, with some of the funding that United Way has provided, to know that those toys aren't completely covered in germs. Maybe just marginally.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
And Mike, what about you? What have you learned?
Oh, I've learned so much in working with United Way and met so many amazing people. It's just so true that there are so many people out there that want the best for our children and want the best for our families, and they just don't know how to do it. And so just trying to give them that knowledge and let them know that it's possible, and let parents know it's possible. You don't just have to go to the childcare right down the street. There's so many options out there. So really taking some time to research if you can, and if not, then give any organization that serves children in Indianapolis a phone call and just ask some questions, because there are some great places out there that not only, again, want to keep your children safe, but they want to get them ready for kindergarten.
Definitely. I was going to ask for some final words of wisdom, but I think you just gave some final words of wisdom. Do you have any final words of wisdom?
Oh, goodness. I think I said it before, that I feel like such a success when my kids bring their books to me and when they want to read them. And Mamie recently had me spell out each of her words in her letter to Santa. And my little 5-year-old can write her letters already. I know that she's ready for kindergarten, and it's such a relief to know that she's being well taken care of and that her needs are being met on levels I haven't even thought of.
So what was on that Christmas list?
Oh, goodness. Well, it started with a ballerina that actually moves, and it went on from there. And so I'm trusting Santa on some of that stuff because I'm not exactly sure what that looks like.
Right. Thank you so much for coming on air with Radio Disney and telling our listeners what United Way is all about. If our listeners want more information about United Way,
you can go to uwci.org or kidsneedquality.org.
And then what was the name of the book program one more time?
Sure, that is the Early Readers Club, and that is offered in branches all over Marion County and our surrounding donut counties. And again, you can find that information at uwci.org.
For more information about Radio Disney, ask your parents for permission to check out radiodisney.com. Thank you so much, and hopefully we will see you next week bright and early on Radio Disney Indianapolis for another great Kids Concern show.
Thanks for listening to the Kids Concern Show. Join us again next Saturday morning right here on the only radio station for families, 98.3 FM, Radio Disney.